You know what's strange? Some of the most intelligent, emotionally aware people you'll ever meet are also some of the most exhausted. Not from doing too much, but from thinking too much. They replay conversations that ended hours ago. They map out scenarios that may never happen. They lie awake at 2 a.m., not because something went wrong, but because their brain refuses to stop asking, what if? And here's the psychological paradox at the heart of this. The very cognitive habit that makes someone thoughtful, careful, and empathetic is the same habit that quietly drains them. Today, we're going to explore the psychology of people who think too much, what's actually happening in their brain, why it develops, and what it really means about who they are. Let's start with what researchers actually call this pattern. Psychologists refer to it as maladaptive rumination, a tendency for the mind to circle back to the same thought loops repeatedly, especially around uncertainty, past events, or social situations. Studies from Yale and the University of Michigan have consistently shown that people who ruminate aren't doing so because they're weak or anxious. In many cases, they're doing so because their brain is exceptionally good at pattern recognition. It's always scanning, always processing, always looking for meaning. The problem isn't intelligence, it's that the system never gets a signal to stop. Neurologically, this comes down to a structure called the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for planning, analysis, and self-reflection. In overthinkers, this region tends to stay highly active even during rest. Meanwhile, the default mode network keeps generating internal monologue. The result is a mind that is always online, always auditing, always drafting responses to conversations that haven't even happened yet. What's fascinating is that this pattern usually doesn't start in adulthood. For many overthinkers, it begins in childhood or adolescence, often in environments where outcomes felt unpredictable. When a child grows up in a place where moods shift without warning or where mistakes had serious consequences, the brain learns a survival strategy. Think ahead, anticipate everything, protect yourself. Overthinking in this light is not a flaw, it's an adaptation. A highly intelligent nervous system doing exactly what it was trained to do. Now here's something important to understand. Not all overthinking is the same. Psychologists identified two main types. The first is reflective rumination, where a person turns inward to understand themselves, process emotions, and make sense of life. When balanced, this can be a strength linked to emotional intelligence and self-awareness. The second is brooding rumination, a more passive and painful cycle of dwelling on problems without resolution. This is where overthinking starts affecting sleep, decisions, and emotional stability. Most people switch between both without realizing it. A moment of reflection can easily turn into a spiral, and because the thinking feels productive, because the brain is active, it becomes hard to notice when you've crossed from processing into rumination. Cognitive psychology calls this the illusion of mental progress. The mind feels like it is solving something, but it is actually just looping. And this is where dopamine comes in. The brain releases small amounts of dopamine during problem solving, even imagined problem solving. So when someone overthinks a situation, analyzes every angle, and constructs mental arguments, the brain is rewarded not for solving the problem, but simply for thinking about it. That's why it's so hard to just stop thinking. So what does this pattern actually say about a person? Research suggests something surprising. People who ruminate more often score higher in cognitive empathy, the ability to understand and predict how others think and feel. They're more sensitive to social nuance, more aware of emotional tone, more attuned to what is not being said. The same mechanism that makes overthinking exhausting also makes these people deeply perceptive. But perception without resolution is exhausting, and that is the real tension they live with. They notice everything, feel everything, and yet clarity keeps slipping further away. Because the truth is simple. The mind cannot think its way out of every problem. Some things must be felt, decided, or released. Therapists working with chronic overthinkers often focus not on stopping thoughts, but on changing the relationship with them. One approach is cognitive diffusion, learning to observe thoughts without becoming them. Instead of thinking, this situation is dangerous and I must solve it, you reframe it as, my brain is generating a concern right now. One pulls you in, the other creates distance, and that small distance changes everything. What all of this shows is something deeper. Overthinking is not a personality flaw. It is not weakness. It's a highly active mind that learned to stay alert in an uncertain world. The goal is not to stop thinking completely, but to teach the mind that it is finally safe enough to rest. And maybe that is the most human thing about all of this. We all carry patterns shaped by experiences we didn't choose. Understanding them doesn't erase them, but it changes how much control they have over us. And sometimes that understanding is where healing begins.